This is being recorded and I will share it with the MSW email listserv. So welcome to this webinar on the Finland Study Abroad program for 2019. I'm going to talk about the who, the what, the why, the when, the where, and the how. I also want to tell you that if at any point you have questions, I'm going to mute everybody. You can use the chat function, which is available either on the bottom or the top of your screen, probably the bottom of your screen, to ask questions at any point. So this is our collaborator. I'm Amanda Woodward. I'm associate professor in the School of Social Work. I'm also the MSW program director and one of the coordinators of the Finland Study Abroad program. Ulla-Maija Koivula is my colleague in Finland. She's a principal lecturer at TAMK, which is the Tampere University of Applied Sciences. Tampere is one of the cities that we go to, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. So this program is designed for master's level social work students primarily. It is also open to bachelor's level or doctoral level social work students, as well as students from related fields, but master's students get first dibs. We do cap it at 10 students. That's what it's budgeted for. So getting applications in, it's sort of a first come, first serve, although there is an application process. This is a full summer course, full session. It's for 6 credits. So you would register for Social Work 822, which is your second required policy class, for 3 credits. And then I think it's actually 890. It says 891 on here, but I'm pretty sure it's 890, which is elective for 3 credits. And the elective basically 2 of those credits count for the time that we're in country. It's a blended format, so there's face-to-face content and online content. The face-to-face content is the 2 weeks that we're in country, and then there are 3 face-to-face sessions prior to leaving that are required, and then the rest of the content is online. And once people are accepted into the program, I can answer questions about the syllabus a little bit, but I'll share it once we sort of finish the application process and people are accepted into the program and registered in the course. We'll share the syllabus, and you'll see that the deadlines for the online content, it's in modules. It's designed to give you time to stay in country if you want. So one of the big expenses is the airfare. Getting over there, so oftentimes students will travel elsewhere in Europe while they're there after the 2 weeks. So the deadlines are sort of set up with that in mind. The focus is on comparative social welfare policy. 822 has an advocacy focus, but we talk about advocacy for this class within the umbrella of comparative social welfare policy. So we look at how the social welfare and social justice issues are addressed in a different cultural and political context, the pros and cons of different approaches, so Finland versus US, and what lessons we can learn from the Finnish context to inform practice and advocacy here. There's also a professional socialization piece, so understanding social work and social work education in this different context, and opportunities to build an international professional network. We do create a Facebook page for each time the program runs, and some of the folks that we interact with in Finland, the professionals and also other master's MSW students there become members of that, and many of them are still in contact from past programs. Plus, of course, we have a lot of fun. There's a lot of personal growth. It is pretty intense the time that we're in country, and travel to another country in a different culture is always a fun and great thing to do. So these are some important dates. First of all, the application deadline is March 1st. Again, the course is for the full summer session, so classes start May 13th and end August 15th. These are the dates we'll be in country from May 25th through June 9th. And May 14th, May 20th, and May 21st are when we have scheduled the 3 pre-travel face-to-face sessions that will be required. And the focus of those sessions, there's content. So we do some sort of background reading and discussion about Finland, the structure of the social welfare system, some of the history of the country that are important to provide context. And we also talk about some logistics. So just, getting everybody's copies of everybody's passports, making sure everybody knows what the itinerary, where they need to be when, talking about travel tips. Not everybody has traveled overseas. In fact, oftentimes there have been times when the majority of the folks who have gone, this is their first trip overseas. Others are more well-traveled, so just sort of talking through what it's like to travel overseas, tips for packing and those kinds of things. So we cover a range of information. And it's also just a good time to get to know the people that you're going to be traveling with for 2 weeks, because it is a pretty intensive 2 weeks. So we go to 3 places while we are there. We go to Helsinki, which is down here in the top bottom of the country. The country is very long and narrow. And you can see it borders Russia and Sweden. And then we spend about a week in Helsinki and about a week in Tampere, which is just a little bit north of Helsinki. It's the 3rd largest city in Finland. And then we do a day trip to Tallinn, Estonia, which is down here across. So we take a ferry across the Gulf of Finland and spend the day in Tallinn. So this is just a sample schedule based on sort of what we've done in the past, and it will probably be very similar to this. So the Saturday, the 25th, is the day that we arrive in Helsinki, and you'll be given information about the hotel that we'll be staying in, and we'll meet in the lobby at a designated time, probably like 6 p.m. or something. So that's when you make your travel arrangements. You will you need to make sure that you are there by that designated time. We don't have any set programming that evening, but I usually, will go out to dinner, and students are welcome to join and go out to dinner as a group, or if they want to, go up to their room and crash, or explore on their own, that's fine. It's kind of free time that evening. But oftentimes we end up going out to dinner as a group. Just it helps people get kind of acclimated to being there and see a little bit of Helsinki, at least in the sort of immediate city center area. We'll spend the first 2 days, so Sunday and Monday, really exploring the city, doing some cultural things, getting acclimated. We have also during this time had visits to Parliament and met with the parliamentarians, so we're learning more about the structure of the government. So it might either be in this time or when we return to Helsinki a little bit later. But really it's just a chance to do some fun things together, get used to being there, and see a little bit of the city. And then we take a train to Tampere, and we'll be in Tampere for about a week. We'll do some collaboration with some master students from TANK. I'm not sure if we'll have this formal international master summer school again, but something like that where there's some programming and presentations and kind of some lecture format, some collaborative work with their master students, and then we'll do some agency visits in Tampere, as well as having some free time and do some cultural activities. We'll take the train back to Helsinki. We'll do agency visits in Helsinki, and then take a day trip to Tallinn, Estonia, which is just for fun. And then people can depart at whatever time they want on Sunday the 9th. The agency visits are the bulk, the main piece of what we do in country. We tailor them as much as possible to student interests. We will often have, it's typically 2 visits a day, so 1 in the morning, 1 in the afternoon. So it's pretty intense and pretty busy. We have gone to schools, foster homes, foster care. We've visited a women's prison, some sort of senior housing or day center. We've visited drug rehab, prisoner rehab, psychiatric hospitals, sort of community mental health types of agencies. We've visited drop-in centers for adults with various developmental disabilities. So we've done a whole range of visits. Again, we try and tailor them as much as possible to student interests. So when you're thinking about filling out your application, there is an essay requirement, and as part of that application, writing about sort of what your interests are is helpful, because that helps us structure the schedule a little bit. And the focus of these agency visits is really, we meet with professionals in the agencies. We learn about how they're structured, particularly if they have social workers on staff. We talk to the social workers about sort of what they do, and try and learn how the social welfare structure and the social welfare policies, the way they're structured, influences the day-to-day work on the ground. This is a chance for, this is basically a chance for you to gather data for some of your papers and projects that you'll do for the online coursework. And we'll talk about those and that more in the initial face-to-face meetings, how to think about that and how to structure it. But these agency visits, you can think of them as data collection to ask. You can come prepared with specific questions that you want to ask, and use that data to help inform the academic literature and the other things that you need to gather in order to do the projects for the coursework. I should remind you, for any of the people that came in just after we started, that if you have questions at any point, there's a chat function that you can access, probably at the bottom of your screen, and you can send questions at any point. So we also do a number of cultural activities. We do a lot of these as group activities, but then we also have free time, and give you sort of ideas for things that you can do in your free time. We have done walking tours of Helsinki and Tampere. We have visited Suomenlinna, which is a island fort off in Helsinki. It's a short ferry ride. It's really a big park, but it also has some really interesting museums. There's a lot of history there. There's also just the opportunity to sort of walk in nature and enjoy the park atmosphere. We've done picnics there. We've done go to a public sauna. The sauna is a very big part of Finnish culture, and public saunas are very popular. And if you're brave, you can go in the sauna and get all hot and then go jump in the lake, which is cold. As I mentioned, we take the day trip to Tallinn, Estonia. There's usually at least one social evening with the TOMC students. They organize something and take the students out to experience some of the night culture in Tampere. But then there's also often some more informal interaction with students at various points. We've visited the Italan Lässimäki, which is a glass factory. If you've ever seen Itala glass, which is sometimes available here, that's where they make that. We eat a lot of really good food. And as I mentioned, there's quite a bit of free time too. Well, this is some of the nitty-gritty of how to make this happen. And I know that the cost is always one of the things that students are most interested in and concerned about. So there's 3 buckets of costs associated with study abroad, and this is true with any study abroad program. This is the way study abroad is structured at MSU. So there's the tuition piece. As I mentioned, it's 6 credits, and that's at whatever rate you pay for tuition. which of course varies for in-state, out of state, and so forth. The program fee for this program is $2,650, and that includes all of your housing. We stay in hotels, occasionally hostels. Probably this time it will be all hotels, as the hostel that we stayed in Helsinki last time was not as nice as it had been in previous times. It covers all of your ground transportation. So that's public transportation in each of the cities, train travel between the cities, the ferry to Tallinn, any ground transportation that we use during the course of the program, except for your travel to and from the airport, which you are responsible for. It also covers some meals, so breakfast most days, which is included in the hotel, and some lunches and dinners as well. And then the additional out-of-pocket cost is an estimate of you are responsible for your own airfare, as I mentioned, the transportation to and from the airport. Any additional meals that aren't covered, of course, miscellaneous expenses, and then the books and the other course materials, and paying for your passport if you don't already have one. A word about passports. If you have a passport and it is set to expire within 6 months of the travel, you should go ahead and get a new passport. So there are some scholarships available through the Office for Education Abroad. Most students fund this through financial aid. So if you currently receive financial aid, you apply to study abroad. Once you're accepted into the study abroad, they have a Office of Education Abroad forwards the financial aid approval form to the financial aid office for processing, which lists basically what was on the previous slide. So the amount of money that you need to participate, including airfare and spending money to finance the program. If you're not currently receiving financial aid, you would complete a FAFSA to apply for aid. And all students are eligible for either need-based subsidized or unsubsidized non-need-based federal Stafford loans. Students can also use Michigan Education Trust money for study abroad. And if you have any questions about financial aid, the financial aid office is the best place to go. They will be much better equipped to answer specific questions regarding financial aid than I will be. There are some other financial aid resources, and these are links. So if you go to the Education Abroad website, they have some links to scholarships. There's also some government financial aid information there. And students have occasionally received scholarships through various organizations. I'm happy to write letters for those applications if needed. I've done that for a couple of students in the past who have gotten some scholarships to supplement financial aid and other resources. So you apply through the Office for Education Abroad. Again, the deadline is March 1st. There is a $100 application fee, which you will be billed through the Student Accounts Office. That is non-refundable, but it is applied to the cost of the program once you're enrolled. And there is a 2-week grace period following the acceptance of the application. So if you're accepted into the program and you decide not to participate, within 2 weeks you get the application fee back. Once you accept the application to hold your spot in the program, so once your application is accepted, you then have to go in and say, yes, I am coming, and they'll hold your spot in the program. At that point, you have to give a $200 deposit, which again is applicable toward the program fee. And then, of course, there's the program fee, which will be billed approximately 2 months prior to departure. So the time frame for students to learn of their acceptance is variable. There is a sort of university level review as well as sort of my review of applications. There are some people who have submitted applications already. I won't review those until really closer to the March 1st deadline. So if you've already submitted an application, you won't hear for a little while. Once you're accepted, you do get an official email from the Office of Education of the program, and you have to return that decision form that says, yes, you're going to participate and pay the $200 fee before your enrollment in the program is official. Once you're accepted into the program, you will be given overrides into the appropriate sections of 822 and 890, and you'll be able to enroll at that point. So students are expected, of course, to complete all the requirements outlined in the syllabus, to participate in all pre- and post-travel face-to-face sessions, and any additional, any additional travel, the events and activities scheduled while in country. And of course, we expect professional behavior in country as well. This is, you're going to be visiting agencies, so just as you would act or behave professionally in your field placement or in professional settings here, the same applies in country. There is a Office of Education Abroad has an online orientation that you'll be required to go through if you're accepted into the program, that outlines some of the policies and procedures around participating in study abroad, policies around potential dismissal and those sorts of things. So a couple of questions that I often get asked, so I would just jump in the gun and put them in here. Some students have already taken, for example, 822, or maybe they've used up all their elective credits and they want to know if they can only enroll for 3 credits. So the program is budgeted for 10 students, but we have had occasionally more than 10 enrolled, although I would not ever take more than maybe 12 or 13. So, but if more than 10 students enroll, it may be possible for some students to enroll for 3 versus 6 credits with approval from the Office of Education Abroad. So if you fall into that category and want to consider that, once we kind of figure out how many people are enrolled, we can talk further about that. We don't fly to and from Finland as a group. So as I mentioned, you're responsible for your airfare and for making your travel arrangements. And you'll be told sort of where to be and on the designated date, what time, where to meet. I do try and make my own arrangements as early as I can, and will share my itinerary with everybody. So if you want to make your arrangements so that you're traveling on the same flights that I am, that's fine. Particularly sometimes when folks have not traveled overseas before, it's intimidating to go on your own, and so traveling, making arrangements to travel as a group, either the same time I'm going or hooking up with some of your colleagues, is certainly helpful in that regard. So that is all I have planned to share at this point. And I will, if anybody has any questions, you can put them in the chat, and I will hang out for a minute or two to see if anybody has questions. So one question was whether the 3 face-to-face visits are on campus or can they be attended via Zoom. You can attend via Zoom. I know that there are some folks who are from some of our off-campus programs who are interested in participating, so Zoom is definitely an option. I do encourage people to try and attend at least one of them face-to-face, because it is helpful, I think, sort of part of the getting to know the people that you're going to be traveling with. It is an intense 2 weeks. People get tired, and crabby sometimes, and need to kind of work as a team and know each other a little bit, and it tends to go a little bit smoother if people have had some more interaction up front. So yes, you can attend by Zoom. I totally understand if you're in the blended program, for example, and live up north, that it's hard to come to campus. But if you can, I encourage people to at least attend one face-to-face. Any other questions? So the dates are scheduled, actually. I'm going to back up to that slide. So these are the dates that those 3 face-to-face meetings are currently scheduled for. So Tuesday, May 14th, 1 to 3, Monday, May 20th, 2 to 4, Tuesday, May 21st, 1 to 3. They will be in Baker Hall in room 221 or via Zoom, and the Zoom information obviously would go out closer to the time for those. Now, if once everybody is accepted and there are conflicts from a substantial number of people with any of those dates that just can't be adjusted, we can try and move them around a little bit, but I'm hoping by having the dates set this far in advance that people will be able to plan ahead. Yeah, so I won't notify people of acceptance until after the March 1st deadline. But I do have I can tell what order people submitted their applications. So if we do need to make decisions for numbers' sake, I'll take into account when people submitted their applications. So the question about 822, whether you take both of the classes, I'm not entirely sure what you mean, but you have to take the full 6 credits. So that's 3 credits for social work 822 and 3 credits for 890, which is the elective. If you've already taken 822 or have used up your elective credits, you can potentially only enroll for 3. It depends on how many people enroll. If we have more than 10 enroll, we might be able to do that for budget reasons because it's budgeted for 10 students. Part of the program fee also goes to some instructional costs, which includes some stipends for some of the folks who work with us in country, because they put in a lot of time in country. I see. Yeah. So you're already taking the 822, so we can look and see when we know how many people are enrolled if Office of Education abroad would approve for you to just take the elective piece. And if that's not the case, then yes, you would have to basically retake 822. We probably would, if we had to have you do it for 6 credits, you probably would do basically 6 credits of 890 because you can't retake a class. And we would talk about how to sort of how to approach the 822 content for you. But honestly, I think we've done this, this is the 5th, or is this going to be the 6th time? I think we've only had one of those times when we had under 10 students. We had 8 students go, but all other times, I think there have been more than 10 students. Nobody has taken it for only 3 credits, but I think that has almost always been an option if needed. I will also say that another question that sometimes comes up is if you're set to graduate in May. We have had a number of students who have done the Finland study abroad. They walk in graduation in May, but those 6 credits are like the last credits they actually need to graduate. So technically they graduate in August, but they participate in the recognition ceremony and graduation in May with their cohort. And yes, both classes are taken, all 6 credits are taken during the summer semester. So the full summer semester from May to August. Any other questions? So the question is, if you've applied for graduation, we're still good to graduate without those credits. So you will graduate, your technical graduation date will be in August rather than May, because you have to have completed those credits for it to be a final graduation to be certified. But you would be able to walk in graduation in May, even though you still have those 6 credits to go. I know it's a little confusing. There's the difference between sort of participating in the graduation activities in May, knowing that you are going to graduate and you have these credits to complete, and sort of what your official graduation date, your diploma will say, which will be, your official graduation date, your completion will be in August after you complete those 6 credits. Any other questions? All right, so I'm going to wrap it up there. You, of course, are welcome to contact me if you think of any additional questions. Email is the best way to reach me. It's at awoodwar@msu.edu. And I'm very excited that you're all interested in the program, and hope to travel with you this summer. Thank you, everybody.